Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of March 2nd, 2025. There is still time to sign up for Astrology Foundations 101. The first class was on Thursday, but you can catch up by viewing the recording, and there's 7 more live classes. So if you want to learn astrology from the ground up with me, you can sign up today. There's a link in the show notes or on my website, astrologybyceleste.com. If you already know the basics of astrology and would like to learn techniques in order to forecast upcoming energies, my transits class for Kepler College is for you. It's a 5-week course. It starts on April 1st. You want to sign up as soon as you know you want to take the class because space is limited and advanced pricing ends March 18th, I believe. You can go to the link in the show notes or my website to learn more. First, let's take a look at some astrology in action. One of the stories that fascinated me was about the US United States. This is a luxury ocean liner that captured America's attention as it would carry luminaries like poets and musicians and celebrities and even presidents across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe. It is going to be leaving Philadelphia, which is the place where the United States was founded, and going down to Florida to be sunk off the coast of Florida. It has been sitting in the Philadelphia harbor for the last 30 years or so, rusting. And the rusting brings the Mars retrograde in Cancer energy. Rust is a byproduct of iron, and Mars rules iron. And Cancer is a water sign, and water makes the rust. And SS brings to mind the Nazis from World War II, and we've been seeing the Nazi salute being thrown by all sorts of people associated with the MAGA world, including Elon Musk, and just last weekend, Steve Bannon, who is a leader of that whole nativist political party. And leaving where, the country was founded to go down to Florida, where the current president lives, and sunk. This ocean liner had the ability to be converted and used to send military troops if it had been needed to other places in the world. Now, my understanding is they never had to use it to really do that, but it gives the image of a Trojan horse. This ship, which on the surface looked like it was just a luxury liner for luminaries to enjoy their trip to Europe, but also could be converted quickly in a time of war into a battleship, like the Trojan horse was used in Greek mythology. The ship left harbor in Philadelphia on February 19th, the first day of Pisces season. Pisces is a water sign, and it's the last sign of the zodiac, and there is always something ending as we move into Pisces season. So it's just so on the nose. The big transit last week was Mars, the planet of action, drive, assertion, conflict, fighting, and fornication, was stationed direct. When a planet stations direct, its energy is intensified. 5 days before and 5 days after. We also saw Elon Musk, who's one of the two kings America has now, wielding a chainsaw against bureaucracy at a conservative convention last week. Now, this made news around the world, and we saw the picture of him trying to hold up this chainsaw, and it looked like a struggle for him. And what he's been doing with that chainsaw is culling the workforce of the federal government. And over 220,000 workers have been fired at this point. And it was done with a chainsaw rather than a scalpel and is having serious repercussions. FAA and transportation secretaries and personnel were fired, and it's almost every day we're having some kind of plane mishap, catastrophe, or close miss, and people are getting very nervous about traveling. On the day Mercury conjunct Saturn in Pisces, we had a new disease in the Congo was announced. Nobody knows where it's come from. Well, it came from 3 kids eating a bat, but it's killing people. And so obviously it's a new disease. We don't have any kind of cure. And the United States, under Elon Musk, has eliminated USAID, which is an early warning system for us. It did soft power activities around the world, which use our money and influence in order to allow us to do some of the things we really shouldn't be doing, if you ask me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but he's trying to destroy that agency, as well as our health agencies aren't supposed to communicate data to us. We are in a perfect storm thanks to the activities of this man. And at the lunar eclipse that is coming on March 14th, his Pluto is being eclipsed. And this can be symbolic of a humiliating and disempowering and intense experience that one has. And I'm wondering if some of the things he's doing are going to have repercussions. So at this conference, he sent out an email to every employee of the federal government telling them that they had to report by, okay, so this was a Saturday. By Monday, end of business, you have to report 5 accomplishments you've made during the week. Well, apparently, part of what happened by sending out this email is that some CIA operatives around the world were exposed. And so that has been a problem. But also on Monday, someone hacked into the Housing and Urban Development system, and on all of the screens showed a video of Donald Trump sucking on Elon Musk's toes, which was made by AI. As Mars stations direct in Cancer, it's moving into a trine with Saturn in Pisces. Mars rules sex, Cancer baths, and Donald Trump is giving Elon a toe bath in this video, and Pisces rules the feet. So it was so in line with the energy. But far more concerning is, what are we not seeing that Elon Musk and his group of merry men, what holes have they left in our government systems as they are doing God knows what? And are we going to have some kind of computer virus or something that causes us a big problem around the lunar eclipse on March 14th? Will it have something to do with some kind of power outages or systems going down that impacts transportation? Like, okay, now planes can't even take off because of what they've done. This could very likely be something that could come up. The lunar eclipse is in Virgo. Virgo rules systems. It rules health. We know that measles, tuberculosis, and there are other things that are going on that are rising in the country. Diseases that we have thought were eradicated are back. Something that I found very visually interesting. If you cast a chart and set the location in Washington, D.C. for the moment Mars stationed direct, it was conjunct the midheaven of the United States. The midheaven is the highest point. It's public. And some people who work for the Park Service in Yosemite staged a protest where they went up to the top of El Capitan, one of the highest points in the country. It's this sheer-faced mountain. It looks like a sheet of rock. And they unfurled a U.S. flag and hung it upside down. An upside U.S. flag is a distress signal, signaling the country's in distress. And the moon was in Capricorn, and the moon was at the bottom of the chart. So it was like people from the ground. The moon rules the people in Capricorn. Capricorn is associated with mountains, big earth structures. Looking up the face of this mountain, seeing this huge American flag upside down in this protest, it was really visually stimulating and so captured the energy of what we are experiencing as these two wannabe kings rampage through our government in what I'm calling the biggest casino heist ever, which what they're doing is taking money from the people and giving it to the wealthy for this huge tax cut that Donald Trump wants to get done. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birthdate book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birthday candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is the magician's assistant. And there are three things I want you to think about as we navigate this week. So much has been said about the United States Pluto return, but the United States is also having a Chiron return at the same time. Chiron is the wounded healer, and when you have a Chiron transit, there can be something that hurts, but in the long run, there is some healing available if you are willing to do the work. And the United States has Chiron at 20 degrees of Aries. And this Chiron return was like no other because it started right around the time of April of 2024, where we had the solar eclipse at 19 Aries. So we had a solar eclipse, this huge energy on our Chiron. And it's in the fourth house of land and rebels. And we've seen so much destruction of land, fires, floods. I mean, it's just been on and on and on over the last year, coast to coast, from Florida to California. So that's the physical symbology of the Chiron return. So we've had all three exact hits, but Chiron is still at 20 degrees because of the retrograde cycle. It moves slowly. So we're under this energy. And one of America's core wounds is the wound of the repercussions of slavery and racism. Kendrick Lamar talked about 40 acres and a mule, which was new to many people. After slavery, African Americans were supposed to who had been slaves, all get 40 acres and a mule to make up for all the years of working with no wages. And one of the key initiatives of the new administration is to get rid of all DEI programs, any kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And what women are waking up to, I mean, women of color knew this, but white women are waking up to the fact that they are also considered DEI because no one has benefited more from the civil rights movement than the women of America. It allowed them to get into the workforce as well. And you can do your own research about that if you like. But anyway, a lot of women are having some rude awakenings around the fact that they are being pushed out of the workforce just like African Americans. But what I think is going to happen, is that they have gone so overboard with all of the things they're doing during Mars retrograde. This administration started with Mars retrograde. It's just gone direct, but it's going to be in the sign of its fall and out of bounds until April. And their actions are so chaotic, I think they are leaving us open for some kind of big problem, whether it's some kind of system meltdown. I mean, people are already apoplectic about all of the things they're doing. Even in very red Republican districts, people were at the meetings where the Congress people went home and had some town hall meetings. Ruby red Republican districts, people were absolutely furious with their leaders of what they're seeing going on with our parks being shut down. This Elon Musk in our Social Security, digging through all our private records and then making up things about how thousands of dead people are getting money and all kinds of absolute nonsense that is easily disproven. And all of the services that are being taken away from people. And now they're coming after Medicare. And all of this is being done to give a humongous tax cut to the wealthiest of us all. And people are furious. And will we, from the destruction that is wrought to us by these tariffs causing and all of this other stuff causing inflation and getting harder and harder for people to survive, and all these people losing their jobs, not just in the government, now it's extending into the private sector. Will people realize we are all in this together, and it should not be men versus women, black versus white, citizens versus immigrants, and all of this other kind of stuff, these things that have been dividing us? It should be the majority of people against the robber barons who are trying to take all of our money for themselves. So I'm hoping that is the healing that's going to come from our Chiron return. It's not going to be easy, but it could be a beautiful thing going forward because we've got all this new energy coming in with Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus changing signs, and Uranus in Gemini, an awakening Gemini of the minds that we are all people. Gemini is a humane sign. So is Aquarius, where Pluto is burning things down to the studs in order to be rebuilt. Things about our society and our higher level thinking that maybe we'll start to see ourselves as together by class rather than these other things that have divided us. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mercury, the planet of communication, commerce, and transportation, will enter the sign of Aries from Monday, March 3rd through March 29th. Now, Mercury is going to go retrograde from 9 Aries back to 26 Pisces. And it starts the retrograde with the moon in Libra. And I just made a joke in my head. I wonder if the kissing disease mononucleosis is going to make news because the south node's in Virgo. Signs the lunar nodes are in indicates what the collective is most focused on. The north node is an amplifier. The south node is a drain. And they're a big backdrop to all of the stories that we're reading about. Virgo is a mutable earth sign ruled by the planet Mercury. So when Mercury changes signs, it impacts the south node. Pisces, this mutable water sign that rules weakness and relating to health. Aries, you can think about Aries rules the head. And when people have measles, we see they have all of these red spots on their face. Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the red planet. So seeing a bunch of people with spots on their face is in line with the Mercury and Aries transit. Virgo rules topics such as workers, health, systems that keep things organized. And we're seeing all kinds of stories about health problems, systems going down, workers being laid off, also crops because of removal of these migrants. There are fields that can't be picked because of USAID being this foreign affairs department being eliminated. There are crops produced by American farmers that are sitting and rotting on docks rather than going to help ease famines around the world. So everything we're seeing is in line with the current energies, and the lunar nodes, they trigger eclipses, and the full moon in Pisces season is a Virgo lunar eclipse. And so the fact that during eclipse season, Mercury is going to be either retrograde or in the shadow of its retrograde and is ruling the south node lunar eclipse tells us it's going to be some problems are going to be surfacing. So Mercury entered its shadow, so it moved past the degree of 26 Pisces on February 28th. It will retrograde on March 14th or 15th as we have the lunar eclipse until April 7th. And then it exits its shadow on April 26th. Now, at the solar eclipse, Mercury is on the world point of 0 degrees of Aries retrograde, right about to go back into Pisces. And when I was looking at the chart, I was thinking about, okay, so the last aspect Mercury makes before it moves into the sign of Aries is a conjunction, which is a merger of the energy with Neptune at almost the 29th degree of Pisces. Mercury is in detriment in the sign of Pisces. It does not like to be in this sign because it struggles to express its energy in this watery sign. And you can think about you go underwater and try to talk. People can't understand you. It sounds all garbled. And then it comes out of the water and goes into the sign of Aries, where suddenly it's gone from the last sign of the zodiac to the first sign of the zodiac. It comes out, it's dripping wet, but it's charging forward because Aries is the ram. It just puts its head down and goes, and it's ready, fire, aim. There is the potential for impulsive actions that can lead to conflicts or problems. So we will see people talking faster, more directly. They'll be less likely to put all kinds of flowery language on what they're saying. If the Congress people thought their constituents were mad when Mercury was in Pisces, just wait until Mercury goes into Aries. People are going to be losing it. So is there something that's going to be going on? Are we going to get an announcement, Mercury, Neptune? Maybe it has to do with these diseases. Over Valentine's Day, someone in West Texas traveled to San Antonio and spent the whole weekend going out and about, including to a college campus, and may have exposed hundreds of thousands of people to the measles. So, could there be an announcement about that's statewide for Texas, or it's outside of Texas? Apparently, 9 out of 10 people exposed to someone with measles who are unvaccinated are likely to get the disease. And in the United States, there's been more and more people choosing to not vaccinate their children, so herd immunity is going down. There is the Sun in Pisces is squaring Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter rules long distance travel. Gemini rules the lungs. Pisces is a sign of illness and weakness. It's the last sign of the zodiac. Now, the retrograde suggests that some things may be delayed. Now, maybe the announcement should be made at this date, but it's not made till later. Hopefully, it's not this terrible disease, but I just want people to be aware that this is serious, that whatever you can do to protect your health from communicative diseases, whether it's just the flu or something worse, it's going to be really important, especially through the month of March, because the transits are bonkers. And I think this Mercury retrograde, it could be about some workers who were fired get to come back to work because they were not done. The firings were not done in accordance to the law. But it also could be, I got something about an illness, but then I thought it might be a computer virus, like something that Elon had left a hole, and that we're going to wake up one day and there's going to be system scramble that could take weeks to unscramble, and it's going to cause a big problem for people. What if people don't get their Social Security checks for weeks late? I mean, people are going to be apoplectic. Let's hope it's just something like that can be fixed and not something that's a health emergency that causes problems that, interrupts people's trips and all of that kind of stuff. So we shall see what happens, but it's not going to be nothing. And it's not going to be something that's doesn't impact a lot of people, because Mercury's on a world point and retrograde at the solar eclipse that's happening on March 29th. So it's going to be something. And when I prepared for Kepler and I was talking about this Mercury retrograde transit, what I said was conflicts and disagreements with partners of all kinds, coworkers, trading partners, and neighbors over finances. And look what is happening. We are fighting with Canada and Mexico. Domestic violence. Now, I was thinking about between husband and wife, but it could be something else. People may be rising up against the government because of all of this craziness that's going on, and demands on the press to unveil sources. Well, I don't know if that's going to be coming, but the press secretary just announced today, on the day that Mercury's conjunct Saturn limits that the White House is going to just pick which people from the press are going to be allowed to ask questions. And that may violate the rules of the First Amendment, freedom of the press. So I'm sure these organizations are going to take them to court. So maybe that will bring reversals. Retrogrades bring reversals, conflicts, reoccurrences of previous situations, and potentially the collapse of things that are contemplated. So this administration thinking they can do everything by executive order, that they don't have to pay attention to the checks and balances that were written into the Constitution to prevent a king from rising. And also, last week or so, Donald Trump declared himself a king, but I don't have time for that nonsense. We have a first quarter moon at 16 Gemini. Gemini is a mutable air sign that rules the lungs. So we are going to be hearing more about potentially things that impact respiratory health. Students is a Gemini topic. The mail is a Gemini topic. They're talking about privatizing the post office. This is going to be another fight, because the post office is something that Americans love. It brings people their medications. Oh, that's another thing that's going on. Because the act of the Biden administration, the Inflation Reduction Act, I believe it was, that reduced the price of prescription medicines, especially for seniors, like insulin, was revoked by the Trump administration. there was a man going off about how his prescription had been $8 a month or $20 a month a little bit ago, and now it's $85 a month. And he was furious about his insulin because, we got to give the tax kickbacks to the rich. So anyway, just keep that aware that that's coming on Thursday. We have the first quarter moon in Gemini, and Mars in Cancer and the moon are both out of bounds at this first quarter moon. And out of bounds is like acting wild and out of control because you're out of the declination of the calming energies of the sun. The moon, which rules the people, is separating from Jupiter. And I wrote down dancing in the streets. So somewhere in the world, people may be dancing in the streets about something. And I wrote down, will J.D. Vance take center stage for some reason? Is he the magician's assistant? But now I'm starting to think maybe Elon Musk is the magician's assistant. The magician card is associated with the planet Mercury, and Mercury rules the signs Gemini and Virgo. And Donald Trump is a Gemini. And he's very much the magician archetype. He's someone who's promising big things to people, and it's all feels like all an illusion. Like he's telling you he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and it turns out to be a big turd. The point is that we're having a first quarter moon, which is a time of action. The sun is at 16 degrees of Pisces. This is the 9 of Cups card. It's the wish card in the tarot. It's a card of satisfaction. So how could you feel satisfied with what you have in your life? I went to Whole Foods today and I just looked around and was like so thankful for all of the bounty that was available. The shelves were full, and in 6 months, will we be seeing the same thing when the tariffs are in place, if they still happen? The Sabian symbol for this card is an Easter promenade. A leisurely walk for pleasure and renewed faith can be some things you think about with this. And I'm thinking eggs are hard to come by in some places, and they're very expensive. There are all of these memes on Instagram about the cost of eggs, and a guy was pretending like he was an egg dealer and, like instead of a drug dealer, an egg dealer, because eggs are so expensive. And so are people going to have to tell their kids, no, we can't have an Easter egg hunt because eggs are too expensive this Easter because of bird flu? And the administration fired all these scientists who worked on bird flu, and then we're trying to hire them back. That's the retrograde. And action was taken. Mars retrograde in the sign of its fall, an action that was ineffective was taken, and then retrogrades rule reversals. So they were trying to bring all these people back from people who had been fired from the health agencies, the CDC, I believe it was, as well as people who were fired from a nuclear plant, where we need them for the security of the nuclear plant. The moon is at 16 degrees of Gemini. This is the 9 of Swords tarot card. It's the nightmare card. Anxiety and despair. So many people are like laying in bed awake at night because they don't know what is going on in the government. Why are you taking away these people who are here to keep us safe and our systems running effectively? And people are making up all kinds of stories in their head with a lack of information. With the North Node conjunct Neptune, there is mass confusion. And the head of a robust youth changes that into a mature thinker. And this is what this Sabian symbol was what made me think of is J.D. Vance, who's like 40 years old and going to have to, for some reason, step up and take more of a leadership role in the administration for some reason. Losing innocence, growing up and gaining maturity. Maybe not. But maybe this is Elon Musk. Once whatever he's doing goes kablooey, he'll have to grow up and gain maturity. We shall see. But these are the two things that made me think about. And computers and computer systems with this first quarter moon in Gemini, something could go on with the fact that Doge has been messing around in our system that causes a problem that they didn't see coming, that causes delays and restrictions. On a positive note, I see all these things that they are doing, and it's symbolized by starting the administration with Mars retrograde, out of bounds, in the sign of its fall. And the actions they were taking were so chaotic that it leads to a failure where they do something that causes a big failure and they have to be reined in by Congress because the people are apoplectic. And maybe even, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump was impeached again because of what he has done and violating the oath of the Constitution to putting the country above one's self. The lunar gestational family of this cycle began on June 6, 2024, where the sun and the moon were both at 16 degrees of Gemini in the new moon phase. So you can look back 9 months ago. Did something start then that's having a pivot at this time? These cycles are great for bringing awareness when your chart is really activated to longer term stories that have pivots every 9 months approximately. You look 2 weeks before or after, but you can also use them for planning. The first quarter moon, sun in Pisces, moon in Gemini, is this Thursday, March 6th, also at 16 degrees. The full moon of this cycle, where the sun is in Sagittarius and the moon is in Gemini, is December 4th of this year, both at 13 degrees of their respective signs, and the last quarter moon, where you're wrapping up a cycle. What lessons have you learned? The sun in Virgo, the moon in Gemini, that's September 4th of 2026. They'll both be at 11 degrees. So these are just good dates to note. I post them on Instagram every week and Facebook. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching, where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is hallelujah. This is a beautiful song about redemption and loss, and it's just such a beautiful song. And on this day, the moon is in Aries, and Venus stationed retrograde yesterday. If you listened to last week's podcast, as I was talking about Wednesday or Thursday, I got the image of people on a stairs of a church and it all being about love. And we found out that the Pope is very, very ill, and Venus is stationing on his midheaven. So I would not be surprised if his illness leads to him stepping down in some way. And on this day, as the moon is in the sign of Aries, I would not be surprised if we are looking back over his career at this time, because Mercury is conjunct Neptune in Pisces at 28th, almost the 29th degree, which is the last degree. It's like 3 seconds from 29. And Neptune and Pisces, and we're talking about a spiritual person who is full of love, could be what's going on, or someone who's full of deception. But I think it makes sense because also the Pisces sun is square Jupiter at 12 Gemini. And the Pisces sun has to do with belief systems, and Jupiter rules religious figures. So there could be something where we're talking about either some kind of loss, or someone has passed on who's a celebrity, a royal, a leader, or a religious figure. Or they're just experiencing weakness. Like they could decide, he's not going to be able to go back to his duties, so he's going to retire. And people are there to celebrate his career. Also, someone musical could drop a record around this time. Could be what's making big news. But the moon's conjunct Chiron later in the day, and this again is the wounded healer. So there's something about wounding, or, let's hope there's nothing about water problems, like there's storms all over the place that cause a huge impact on people. We'll see what happens. But there's going to be a waxing moon at 27 Aries at 11:16 p.m. Pacific time, where we start to see the light. And Aries is a sign of forward motion. It's cardinal fire. It's action taking. And people are going to be feeling motivated to do something. So maybe motivated to, if it's about something about the Pope, share his message of taking care of each other or something like that. On Monday, the word of the day is survivor. Mercury enters Aries at 1:03 a.m. Pacific time. So there is going to be talk around some kind of conflict. Aries rules conflict, fevers. This could be, Mercury rules commerce. So people like fighting over the toilet paper during COVID was a very Mercury and Aries kind of energy, because they were rushing to the store to get, survival instincts. Aries is an energy of survival. Like Pisces comes before Aries. So there could be some kind of ending and loss that leads to people feeling like they need to do something or take some action for survival, or there could have been a big confusing. This could be like someone says something to you and you mishear them because maybe they're mumbling, and then you make up in your head what they actually said, and you're angry. That could be. But then the moon goes into Taurus at 2:36 a.m. Pacific time. And this could be like you get an alert that something's going on, like a big storm's coming, and what are the things that are exalted that I have that I want to collect? So if the tariffs go through, people are running to the store, grabbing things off shelves because they're thinking, oh my God, the prices are going to go up, so let me get all this stuff. And and maybe they're unpacking all their groceries as the moon is in Taurus, thinking about, I got the best Malomars or what have you. And the moon squares Pluto in Aquarius. So there's this sense of the moon rules the people. So the Taurus moon, people are focused on resources, money, physical comfort, square Pluto in Aquarius. Like the group, Aquarius rules the group, this power struggle over these resources. Or it could just be like mental pressure about, how am I going to afford things if the tariffs cause my groceries to go up because, I'm already squeezed with my paycheck. Could be something that's going on. On Tuesday, the word of the day is riotous. This is the day the moon and Uranus meet at 23 degrees of Taurus. As Uranus and Taurus gets towards the end of the sign, it's getting more and more loud about, upheavals, shocks, awe, surprises coming in. With everything that's happening, people are excited about something. And what are they excited about? They're excited about probably maybe something that's news that they're not thrilled about. Like maybe all the tax cut bill that's been put through by the Republicans is going to be a problem for some people who are relying on Medicare and other spending that is going to be cut. So they may be really hopping mad about that, or hopping mad about people are hopping mad about something, is what I'm getting from this. Now, it could also be a group wins the lottery and they are hooting and hollering and they're excited because now they're really wealthy. That could be the moon square Pluto. Yeah. But maybe someone wants to fight about the ticket, or maybe Sally in accounting didn't get her money in quick enough, and now she is furious that everybody else in the company has won the jackpot and they are quitting. And she's going to be sitting there by herself, even though she's paid into the lottery almost every other week, but she was late this time or something like that. It slipped her mind. She forgot with Mercury conjunct Neptune. That could be Mercury, Neptune, things slipping through the cracks of your mind in the sign of Pisces. On Wednesday, the word of the day is quicksilver. The moon enters Gemini, and if things were slow before, they're moving fast now. Gemini is a mutable air sign. Air communicates and connects, and Gemini rules things like children, siblings, transportation. These are some Gemini topics. Gemini rules the hands and the wrists and the lungs. Mercury and Aries is sextile Pluto and Aquarius, both at 3 degrees. So this is a new degree for Pluto and Aquarius. It's the first time it's gotten to the 3rd degree. There may be some kind of announcement that impacts a large group of people. We shall see what that is. On Thursday, the word of the day is happy. The Moon-Jupiter conjunction happens on this day where Jupiter is the great benefic, where people are feeling good about something. And then we have the first quarter moon in Gemini at 8:31 a.m. And this is on Donald Trump's Uranus, so who knows what's going on. It could be some kind of surprise or upheaval related to him, or said something shocking. Or maybe they've talked about giving people money from the so-called savings of Doge. So maybe there's some other promise about that. But I wouldn't hold your breath or start spending any money until it is in your bank account. On Friday, the word of the day is congestion. The moon enters the sign of Cancer at 8:28 a.m. Cancer is a water sign. It's at home. The moon is at home here. So can you be in flow and allow yourself to relax? Maybe your energy is coming back if it was kind of sapped during the Mars retrograde transit, because on this day, the sun in Pisces is trine Mars in Cancer at 17 degrees. They both are. So there's going to be some spotlight on what has gone on during the Mars retrograde. And one of the things during Mars retrograde was that the president of the United States interfered with New York politics about congestion pricing in New York City as something that New York has been working on. And then he wrote this executive order saying, no, you can't do it, which a big thing in the United States is the rights of states to act independently and not have the federal government meddling in their affairs. And it used to be a very big, important Republican principle, but maybe there'll be some kind of court ruling about congestion pricing. I wasn't thinking about this when I wrote this, but it could be. Or, with all these illnesses, people are feeling congested. But what is some kind of Pisces sun type figure doing that's martial, that's action oriented? Or this could be burning down the house is something that comes to mind. Could there be some upheaval in the House of Representatives? On Saturday, the word of the day is security. The moon and Mars meet at 17 Cancer. People are focused on protecting something. Maybe something happened Thursday or Friday that has people concerned and angry about security and maybe protesting. Many Americans are hopping mad about the things that are going on. So we shall see. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.